Yeah.
Well, there's people at home watching, right?
There's, do we? Okay.
John, we can fill an hour, can't we? I mean,
Let's knock this guy out. Is Broker Dave even here? Okay, I was like, we'll come back to it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going on the clock in the back. We've got 1 minute, so we'll give it to 11 on the dot and pray that somebody else shows up. Yeah. 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 Oh, everybody here except Mark, myself as staff. Right. So far.
Yeah, thank you. Mine too.
we get magic.
Yeah, we should. Just AI digitally impose a bunch of people in this office.
Cardboard cutouts.
Yeah. Yeah, like when they had games during COVID and they.
Oh yeah, that's something. Yeah. They had cardboard cutouts, burns. They'd have parties. They'd have a record. They'd play. It sounded like there was a party going on. They had the shades closed.
I remember that.
You also look like people were moving around.
Well, it's 11 and we'll knock this out. I'm sorry, it's just a handful of us, but come on.
Almost. Not yet.
All right.
Close.
All right. Yeah. Dave, there's 3 agents in this. Do you have any? We'll get to it. All right. Okay. Thank you, Samantha, for joining us. Come on, bring it up. So, anybody have any buckets to fill? Any love they need to share? You can probably everybody, all time, in perpetuity.
I will go. I am grateful for Makai. Makai is a great trainer, and I'm really sad it's her last week, and I will miss her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. Okay,
Yeah.
can't cry today.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for Sean taking over these team meetings while Scott Gold going on at the other place, and grateful for the gold opportunity for all those agents over there.
Yeah.
We had an agent sign listing this morning who
Nice.
hasn't signed one this year, so starting to work. We're starting to see the
Cool.
progress.
Well worth the investment. Makai.
I'm grateful for you again. I'm a shy gal. So
Okay. No, happy to do it. It's not a big deal, especially when there's a half dozen of my friends in this office. It's not exactly a big deal to like talk in front of everybody. Dave, what you got?
I'll second, third, fourth, what they're saying. Just the 3 people. Audrey's working her tail off doing the stuff at both offices, and she definitely needs to. Again, Makai, and this is the last week of having someone in that position who can always count. Sean for being up here and talking to the 6 of us, and obviously Corey, left hand, right hand, and the changes and stuff that we were doing between the offices has made me rely on him even more, and he's always stepping up.
Awesome. I think if we've got a preferred partner, do we have a sponsor today? Yeah. We may want to let them know they can dial back their lunch order. So don't waste.
That was pretty funny last week when he goes, what turned out to be an all you can eat taco bar.
Yeah, exactly. Taco buffet bar. Okay. All right. Any bite-sized wins, guys? Or are you doing that? Okay. Anybody have any AI wins from the last week? I'm starting to use it more and more, which is just great. I don't know if it's a win or not, but it's just nice having some more stuff at my disposal and getting a little more familiar with everything.
something I want to shout out. If you guys have ever seen those, they look like sparkles up at the top of command. That's like AI. So I use that all the time. If you have a question, you can just type that in and it'll give you a bullet point list of how to do something on command.
That's good to know. Yeah, it's actually really good to know. Corey.
I'm only chiming in because I'm one of 6 to be able to. But no, seriously, the AI, I've been using it, and I'm sure that I can't remember what the name of it is right now, but for staging vacant photos, I signed up for a thing where I can stage X amount of photos a month, not for free, but I paid a service, and the photos are turning out pretty amazing.
Nice.
For what I'm doing. So agents that have vacant listings, they're getting professional photos taken, and then I'm virtually staging those with my program, and they're turning out great. Just as
Oh, that's
good
cool.
as sites that charge $25 a photo. So
Will it change, like, not just for actual, like renovation?
I don't know about that, but you can do, like I can turn an outside photo to twilight, which is pretty cool. Sabrina Peters has a listing that just went under contract, and a lot of those photos I staged, and they look really good.
Oh, that's cool.
Like I told her, had her send them to me, said if you don't want to use them, I don't care. But she ended up using all of them. So
Cool. That's
and
actually
if
good to
anyone
know.
wants to know what that is, just come by my office and I'll tell them because I can't remember what
Okay.
it's called.
No, that's good to know. I didn't know that. Cool. Okay, any new agents? Nope. We'll go right past here. Okay, Makai's last week. Yeah. Makai, do you want to come say a piece? You're amongst family and friends here. So
Yeah, so it's exciting news. I'm actually going to Seattle, Washington for a month. I'm staying within the KW fam and doing what I do here, but kind of getting a fresh start in a new city, which when they did my vision board, when they first hired me, has always been on my radar and a goal. And I adore you guys. I love you guys. You made it so awesome here. I think I've been here 3-ish years. And there's some people I can't look at, but I adore you guys. It's been awesome working here, and I'm close by. I'll see you all the time. I'll pop in when I visit Utah.
yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, it was sad to hear that you were leaving, obviously. Finding out the reasons why and everything, like, okay, that's completely fair. It's gonna be a great experience. You're gonna get a great fresh start for you. So
And we should all go to Seattle now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
come visit.
we could have gone next week for the World Series if somebody's team had won, but Broker Dave, what do you have for the four agents in the office?
You know, I might get up here and I've got my little stick up piece of paper. I didn't have a chance to write that down today, so I want to talk one of my favorite conversations real quick. I've been called, me and President Trump were called Nazis this week because you know, I'm not docu-signing something that says you can transfer the earnest money over until I can go back in the file and make sure that the old one has properly been canceled so I can transfer that over. Why is that?
Because that earnest money is tied to that particular contract.
Because I'm a jerk. I'm a Nazi.
For 40 years, you finally will.
Whatever. Okay, so when you pledge earnest money on a contract and is secured in an accepted contract, that earnest money is no longer the buyer's, it's the buyer and seller's. And I can't do anything with that until I have buyer and seller's permission. So our earnest money cancellation, acknowledgement of receipt, cancellation, all that removes the seller from that ownership position of that earnest money and allow the buyer to transfer it over. And so I have to make sure that it has been released so the buyer can transfer. We're in a unique no, I'm not over the other office yet. There is a unique situation with a couple of other offices right now where we have a cash transaction, a couple $1 million, $50,000 earnest money, accepted contract, buyer made an offer to close in 30 days, seller didn't think that was enough time, and they had a vacation plan, so they countered back saying 45 days. 30 days into it, sellers are getting ready to go on their trip. They go into the title company to close early and get everything all done. mentioned to the title person that they are literally selling everything in their house at pennies on the dollar to accommodate this buyer. They sold all of their possessions, all of their furniture, all of their everything, and then went on vacation, or were going on vacation. And the title person said, you know, we never did get that $50,000 earnest money. And so they're 30 days into this contract, and they literally are selling everything that they own. And the earnest money was not deposited. Okay. Which prompts a whole bunch of conversations. And now we're 45 days past, the buyer did not perform, and sellers have now canceled the contract, and they're now looking for another buyer, and they're upset. Okay. Who are they going after? Huh? Well, they're going after the buyer because he's breached the contract, right? He defaulted on the contract, and the shall or may goes into dispute resolution. May was the selection on this particular one, so they're attorneying up. They're going to go after him for breach. Okay. In talking to the other broker, buyer gave them proof of funds for $15 million, and apparently, allegedly, he's been a victim of a Ponzi scheme where he sent that $15 million off to some other country expecting a much higher return on it, and that money never came back. And so he's now put in this position where I can't perform, which I have some questions on. If you got $15 million, do you want to send it all, you know, not even say food money? I mean, seriously. But anyway, that is the conversation. And the people that are supposed to be returning his windfall money are giving him excuses. He then is giving his agent excuses. His agent is giving the listing agent excuses. The listing agent passed it along to the seller, who literally just came back from vacation and don't have so much as a mattress in their house. Okay, so now they've got severe damages. They're going to go legal on him and sue for actual damages, but this is a person who has no money. So what's he going to get out of it? Okay, who else is going to be named in the lawsuit? Everybody. Everybody. And talking to the Division of Real Estate, the minute you know your buyer didn't perform on that earnest money, you have a fiduciary duty and an obligation to the state of Utah to inform the other team. So the buyer's agent is definitely looking at licensing infractions, and possibly this is a license getter. The listing agent and broker are also subject to breach of fiduciary duty for reasonable care and diligence for not verifying that earnest money was deposited. So everybody has a potential for getting slapped. So why don't I sign those earnest money releases on a DocuSign where I don't? That's how important this stuff is. Literally, there's a family in a $2 million, 3-level, gorgeous home that was staged beautifully that now doesn't have so much as a mattress, and nobody's got money. Wow. Watch your money.
Yeah. And hopefully that resonated with the handful of us that are here, because that's, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, all right, next up. So I don't give too much away already, but really, really honored to give this one away. I'm not giving away. Let's make it clear. Sorry. Marita is giving this away. She's at Bold. Wish Rick was here to come speak so eloquently in front of us, but they got back from a trip late last night. But really honored to give this away, and to a very, very deserving person, and it's bittersweet. And I just want to pull up Marita's text. Give me just half a second. I apologize. Read her kind words, if I can find it. Oh, there we are. Okay. So Because we are excited for her new adventures, but we will miss her terribly. She's been so helpful, cheerful, smart, and attentive. She shines KW culture above and beyond. I think we know who this probably is. It is one very deserving Makai Young. So, congratulations.
Thank you, Maria.
Well, I think you would have earned it any time. That just happens to be like the culmination of your last week and it. So, yeah. So, yeah.
Yes.
Since you won't get a
How I'm gonna pass this off.
pass, you can talk to us. But which one of these would you say is your favorite component?
Last time I chose success results through people, but teamwork also. Together, everyone achieves more. I feel like those ones are just the two that focus on the relationships. And I feel like wherever you're at in real estate, it's about relationships, and those two highlight it.
Yeah, agreed. So, thanks again, Makai. Okay, a couple things coming up. So last week so it's still going on Thursday, this event with Cody Gibson on Thursday at Salt Lake Community College. I was under the impression was at our downtown, the one on State Street. It's actually the one we always do every event at in Sandy. So if you guys are signed up for that, make sure you end up at the Salt Lake Community College on just the west side of the freeway, about 94th South. So we've got that going from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. On Friday, we have Double the Value with AI. That is the investor class that I believe, I don't know if Kimber's doing that. I believe Kimber's doing that one. Is it Shoni? Is it Shoni? Okay, because I know Shoni's doing another one in November as well. So, and then if you guys want kind of a little kickstart, first track to your first deal. So might not be bad for anybody who's just maybe in a little bit of a lull as well to go check that out and just kind of see what she's got going on to kickstart some business. Well, not only because we're in the fourth quarter, but start springboarding you into the first quarter and beyond. Come on. Okay. Business planning clinic. I know somebody was asking me about this yesterday. So that'll be on the 30th. So it's a week from Thursday, noon to 2. And I believe that, here at our office, the glare off that windows make it very hard to see. Oh, yeah. So Linda and Mike Walters will be teaching that from noon to 2. So come bring your lunch and come get your businesses mapped out for 2026. CE class on November 4th, again, here in this office, pillar to post. We'll be teaching that. Renovate, repair, remodel, repair. It's like a 1-hour class. Do you know any more information? Casey's teaching it. Okay, good to know. So, okay, good stuff. So yeah, we've got plenty of stuff coming up. Let's get some of these classes. Okay, the Halloween party, the one we normally do here, we're doing that at the Midvale office. That's October 29th, 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. So if you want to register, there's the QR code for it. I'm sure we'll have information about that as well. Okay, you good? All right. New link tree again. I don't know if you guys know this. The link tree that has been for Salt Lake City has been shut down. So now we're both on the same one here. So anybody need this QR code? They're around the office as well. So, but if you need a second, I'll give you a second. Hi, Sabrina. No, it's just saying hello. It's good to see you. I think I need to do it still too, to be honest. Okay, check your. Sure. You want text? Go to the front desk now.
I've had people inconsistently say they've gotten them, not gotten them, want them, not want them. So if you want to update your information, make sure to ask us.
There you go. Okay, perfect. Mark, what do you got for us?
I don't know if I can do it like Josh. And I'm not going to do my normal because last time they said I couldn't have the microphone in my hand for like 8 months. So just give me a heads up. So let's look at the stats here. And there are a couple interesting things. So active listings, they're actually down from last week. If you guys look at that,
She's going to pull it up right now.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so we can see if you go back up to the top, please. So down from last week of 13,732 to 13,650 as active listings. But if we go down here to active listings that have come on the market in the last day and last 7 days, that's actually down as well. And active contracts and backup in the last 7 days, up, which we could probably relate to some of the interest rates that we've seen, right? I don't know about anybody else's listings, but all my listings went under contract in the last 10 days. Like I had 3 or 4 listings, and all of them have gone under contract in the last 3 or 4 days, or last 10 days. Sold listings in the last 7 days, down. Expired, up. And then price reductions, down. Again, I think that's conducive to the interest rates. Average days on the market up 1 day. I don't really consider that like that big a deal, because it fluctuates a little bit. So when you're looking at stats week to week, I always try to take it into a little bit of salt with it, and like, hey, look, we're only looking at 1 week. It's not anything major that's going to change or that we should read into. There's plenty of graphs on here just to show exactly what we just talked about. One of the interesting things is we're very close. You can see we've been just hovering right around just under the 14,000 active listing mark. And, I will say this, I'll make a prediction. If we break over 14,000, the sky is going to fall. People are going to freak out. But, as we read through, and some of what Josh's notes are saying is that the market is actually really healthy right now. Having more listings, there's a couple of things as we'll read through, but as I was reading through this, I'm actually really excited about things that are coming up. So, and we'll look right here. Josh's thing here, I got a glare, so I got to look at it this way.
The other.
Oh,
I know. I learned that.
Thank you.
I learned that
Thanks,
too.
thanks,
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean. So, inventory from April up 23%. And you can see that in the graph as, we can just see it trending up every week, a little bit more. But it's been pretty consistent. You haven't seen these big jumps or these big drops. It's just a nice trend. So days on market, longest 66 days. Again, that's probably going to go up or down a little bit through the season, because we know that there's a little drop. And, we'll probably see from sales or contracts that have come on here in the next couple of weeks, that actually might even drop a couple of days. So we're not going to really, focus on that so much. And I really look at this when I'm talking to my clients about this. I'm using that as just to set expectations. Like, hey, just plan on your house being on the market 60 days. That's the average. Setting that expectation with them is going to really help you and help your client feel really confident about what your marketing plan is. Price pressure, 1,470 price reduction in the last week. I mean, we've been seeing this week over week for the last few years. That's just part of the strategy or what's going on in the market. Because, real estate really, as you look at this, the feds do this, we make adjustments over here. This happens, the rates are high, we see this. If rates drop right down, we're going to see other things. We'll see other adjustments in the market, and that's just how it goes. So active, under contract, declining. Again, that could be seasonal. We had a holiday. I mean, the sun came out, the weather dropped, we don't know. So it just, again, I don't really look at that so much. If we saw that trend start to go down, then that would be a concern, obviously, but week over week, we're not going to really look at that. Year over year national trend, inventory normalizing. We see a lot of on national level price reductions that are widespread, more balanced corrections, more conditions favor for buyers. We all know this. I mean, we know we've been moving more from a seller's market to a buyer's market. Utah position, strong local growth drives national. Look, our market is really good. Economically, we're really good, and we can see that there's still demand out here. We're not seeing, we haven't seen it here in this report, but in the past, we've looked at days on market versus, local versus national, where we've been about half that. I mean, really, it's been very healthy for us. So, and, opportunity zone, it's in the day on market creates some negotiation and some leverage for buyers. I mean, nothing new, I would think. If you were working with clients, this is stuff that you're seeing anyways. Let's see. Utah's inventory has climbed. As you can see, we just talked about that from 11 to 13, up. That's up that's a big jump. But again, the market isn't crashing, and I think Josh talks about this a little bit in this report. Is that what we're seeing is a real healthy market. There's no, the sky is falling. We don't really hear that. We used to hear that when I first got in real estate. We hear that quite a bit, but we're just not seeing that. So, which is good. Buyers have more choices. Sellers are losing leverage, so they're just not saying. You can see it as you're showing houses that if they're not staging or if they're not cleaning it, they're just sitting on the market. Things that houses that are sitting on the market a long time, you can look at the pictures and just see why a lot of times why they're sitting on the market. And again, days on market, up from 65 to 66 from last week. Again, I just don't see that as that big a deal, but it is something to pay attention to. Inventory's high, so pricing the house right is making it ready to show. I mean, we can see that as we look at houses that are clean, are set up properly. People are looking at. If they're not set up properly, people are just walking by because there's just more choices out there. So right now, 1,400 price reductions hit the MLS in the last 7 days. Overpriced homes are sitting on the market. They're just scrolling past them, right? Sellers are making strategic adjustments early. And I know that we've talked about that in this. We're really good and very savvy about that in our market here, in our market center here. We talk about these things all the time. Hey, when is the right time to make the price adjustment? So there's some, as we read through this, and I won't go through all of this because there's some reports on there that are pretty heavy, but
And it's out in the link tree, so you can get all this information as well.
I would download it because there's a lot more information. I could spend all hour reading this, but we're just not going to do that. So
Not on my watch, right, Dave?
yeah, thanks. So look at this. So this is so far mortgage rates haven't spiked like they did last year. So we're not seeing that. We're actually seeing, I think, and you might talk about this, but the 10-year Treasury yield actually hit 4% like a couple of days ago. That's a big mark. That's a huge thing for us, and really will affect our market. And that'll adjust a little bit here and there. So I did put this up as the last slide, and you can go to Rapid Stats on UtahRealEstate.com and see this. But this is the one that I found the most interesting, and I just want to point out this graph right here. So the last 30 days sold by price range breakdown. So this is so fascinating to me because where are people buying and selling houses? This is very important. As you're talking to clients, and this has been the meat and potatoes forever and ever in the market, because the market really moves from the bottom up. It doesn't start from the top and go down. As we sell houses that are on the low price, those people move up, then those people buy houses and they move up, and that's how it goes, right? But look at this: 27% of the houses sold were between the $500,000 and $7,000 range. Look at this, but this one, this is what surprised me: the 1 million to 3 million. 39% of the sales in the last 30 days were in the luxury market.
Mark, actually, I think that's the 3 to 500. The lighter yellow is.
Oh,
but
no,
it's-
it is.
But it's still
I was
9.
like, God,
But it's
okay,
still
sorry.
9% though.
Yeah,
I mean,
but-
so that's still not nothing.
Oh, I did look at it wrong. I must be colorblind. Sorry, my old age. I should have had my glasses. But so
That would've been sweet if
A little
that was
data
the
there, it
case,
didn't
but-
make sense. So 8%, 39%. Dude, I'm sorry, but 300,000 to 500,000 is. I mean, honestly, that actually does tell me exactly what I just said, though, that the market is moving from the bottom up, and that is with some of the policy. If you guys are looking at some of the policy that's been coming out and some of what's going on with the yield treasury, this is setting us up nicely for coming up the first quarter of 26 and even into the second quarter, that we're going to start to see a shift happen again, and the market's going to open up. And so this is a very good sign, in my opinion. And I'm going to be watching this a lot myself, because in the last, when I first started in real estate, this was the hot market. And then all of a sudden it bumped up and went from $300,000 houses, and then went to $400,000 houses, and then 500, and it just kept going up and up and up. And so we're back to that. We've done that reset. This could, for years, I've gone to these classes and they'd say, or to family reunion and say, oh, we're at the bottom of the market. You know, this is it. This is the bottom of the market. But these numbers right there, actually, that's the one we should be watching, because that's going to actually tell us what is the market going to look like in the next 60 days of what is selling. So right there, that's the meat and potatoes, in my opinion. So there's a whole housing wire market that's like 17 pages long. I would actually download it and read it, because that guy is very good. He's given us a lot of data that talks about some different aspects of the market on a national level that do affect us locally. They talk a lot about new construction and how that has really picked up. But one of the things that they did say in there that we're really looking for is stabilization. And what they do notice from in there, as I read through it, is that it doesn't matter about the interest rate, but when it's been stable around 6%, that has allowed these home builders to actually have some of their best growth so far. So your stability is all what clients are looking for. That's what we want to see in the market. And we're seeing that in the new construction. That also bleeds over into existing home sales as well. So, any questions? No. Anybody? Bueller?
Well, I think it's important to note too, like for all of us, maybe John, how long have you been doing real estate? Okay, and Dave, Dave 40-ish. I mean, thinking everybody else here, like, obviously there's a small group of us, but everybody else is a decade or so or less in, relatively speaking. Sabrina, how long have you been doing real estate? Okay, so about me. So I mean, the whole time that it's been going on, we've been in a seller's market, right? Obviously, the last several years, post-COVID, COVID in a couple of years, really exemplified like, oh, now this is truly a seller's market. But for the most part, it hasn't been bad. This is, I think, the first time we've ever really seen kind of our butts getting kicked a little bit by the market normalizing. But that's the word. That's where we need to say is it's normalizing. We just haven't experienced that for a lot of us newer agents, where it's actually, oh, sellers and buyers have equal say or relatively equal say, as opposed to sellers getting whatever they wanted. Or I've never experienced a true buyer's market where, buyers have all the say. There's every third house has a sign in front of the yard, right? So it's like, you got to take that into context. It may feel like where the market is crashing, but I think it's like you said, it's just stabilizing, it's normalizing. It's just a lot of us haven't experienced it. So it's still a new feeling for a lot of us as well.
I think the pain, and for most agents being in less than 10 years, the pain has been, we knew one market, which was hot, and it was a seller's market, and then it switched to this other market, and then we had to make adjustments, and that can be difficult when you have one mode of doing business and now you have to shift. But that also that's what I think makes you a seasoned agent, is when you can go through one market to another and still see success, you're considered a seasoned agent, and that's going to help you with your clients.
Yeah.
And so the last thing I'm always looking for, and I talked about this with Dave yesterday, is when I read the stats, Josh is just looking at numbers. I'm always looking at where is the opportunity for my clients, and how can I relate this? How can I take this information and give it to my clients, whether they're buying or selling, and use that to help them to navigate buying or selling a house? And that's what I would say, look at it for yourself, is where can you take this and tell your clients? How can you set expectations so that they do, because ultimately you're building a relationship so that they refer business to you. At least that's what I'm trying to do, and we talk about that. So how can you set those proper expectations, and what can you tell your clients in order to let them feel like very confident in what you're doing and that their house is selling right, and then they're not listening to other people outside of our industry or the news bites that will tell them something different. So
yeah.
Sure. You were saying that's the problem we've had the last few years. Is the bottom rungs of the ladder were non-existent. Our prices got to the point where there were no properties for first-time home buyers or all that. The bottom rungs of the ladder, and so nobody could move up.
Yeah.
Which stagnated the entire thing. Another thing Mark was talking about is the more balanced market. It was for years a balanced market was 5 to 6 months on the market was considered a balanced market between buyer and seller, good fair opportunity. With our price increases, and that's probably come down to the 3.5 mark. But there for a while it was days.
Yeah.
And in my world, you know, you guys look at sales and all that kind of stuff. I look at lawsuits and problems. God, I hate my life. Anyway,
Different
I
perspective.
look at lawsuits and all that kind of stuff, and you look at the market right now. Do we have more lawsuits or less lawsuits than we had a few years ago?
I want to say
Probably
more.
No, absolutely less, because right
Oh,
now
interesting.
it's hard for a buyer to go in and say, we didn't have the opportunity to look. You got 14,000 properties you could have looked at.
Yeah.
Okay. You had an opportunity to negotiate on your behalf for an extended diligence period. It's hard for you to, you know, get the woe is me's. Whereas a few years back, when you were writing a blind offer, non-refundable earnest money, due diligence in 3 days, close in 7, you didn't have the chance. And when it went south, there was a lawsuit. And there were a ton more lawsuits. Right now, we've got a calming market. Buyers and sellers have an opportunity to check things out. And we're probably, according to your stats, in a more balanced market, giving buyers and sellers the right. And, you know, and now from the real estate agent standpoint, which market's best and all that kind of stuff. You guys heard of Norman Vincent Peale?
Sure.
Yeah.
Norman Vincent Peale talked about one time somebody was, you know, whining and stuff about their problems. And he said, you know what? I've got the perfect community for you. Community in upstate New York. It's got 150,000 residents and not one problem amongst the entire group. Not one problem. People are going, oh my God, that sounds great. He goes, absolutely. It's called Forest Lawn Cemetery. And he goes, not one problem exists in the cemetery. So problems literally are a sign of life. The more problems you have, the more alive you have. And you're looking at this market right now, you might be a little bit longer on the market and all that, but your mindset is going to make you successful in this market, next market. It's going to be your excuse for the last market, just like people that say you can't sell a house. Guys, it's your mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
One other thing I will talk about, and you can download this from the Wiring Housing Report, but they talk about the existing interest rates on houses. Because, you know, when we first started to see the market shift, people had low interest rates. And so what was the reason why people weren't buying, we'd always say, or you'd hear a lot, oh, well, rates are low, so they don't want to give up their low interest rate. That has essentially gone away. And he talks about that in the market, his market report. But there's as many people right now who have an existing loan, it's above 6% or above, as the people who are 3%. So that is what all that opportunity has gone away. What you are seeing though is there's people who have homes have 55 on average, 55% equity in their house. So even though the rates are higher, people are buying because they can just put more money down. You know, they're not just putting 3% down or 5% down. They have a chunk of equity that they're selling their house at 4.5% or 4% or 3.75, whatever that is, and they're buying into the higher rate, but they're not even paying attention to it because they've got so much equity they're putting down. So that is another real key that we're going to see, and you probably talk about this maybe, but when I think about what's coming up for the market, because that's what I'm always trying to look at is 90, 60 days, 6 months out, that people don't care about, the rate doesn't make a difference anymore. That is a known void objection. But equity is important to people. And we're still seeing, there was another report I looked at where people were selling their house at 5% higher this year than they were last year. So they're selling their house, they're getting more for it. And even though it's just a little bit more than just what your gains are, and they don't care about the rate as much anymore because those are just almost non-existent. So all really, really good things I would say for if you're an agent and you're an active agent in real estate right now. So
yeah. Awesome.
Anybody else got any insights or thoughts?
Oh. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Amir, what do you got for us?
Thanks, Mark. Yeah. So it's funny because I'll talk about some of the stuff that Mark talked about, but how does it all kind of tie in? So first, rates have kind of been holding. So Mark mentioned this previously. A year ago, we had this dip in rates that was very momentary. Like we only had maybe like 10 days where rates hit this level about a year ago in September of 24. So what's different this time that we're seeing is more continuity. So if you look, we're already a month and a half. As long as you're about the same level here, this is about the same rates. So already about a month and a half in the current rate environment, and rates are under 6%. So if you have clients that are looking at rates that are over 6%, they're not looking at the right lender. Okay. They should be able to buy it down pretty easily to 5.99. If they want to put a little bit more. I know I just locked in a client at a 5.5 that had like a 1.5 buy down on what they were doing. They were putting like 25% down. So it's a different type of excellent credit. But that just shows you that rates are actually a lot more aggressive. I also have another component where it comes to, because rates are where they are, people are more open to the idea of moving from where they were to where they are, what the market is available now. Because what's been happening over the last couple of years, yes, all those people had those low interest rates, but at the end of the day, they're tapping into their equity. So I can tell you over the last 2 years, home equity loans have been like a huge product for us. Everybody wants to, because like you're saying, they have so much equity in their house. How do I get that equity without selling? Because I don't want to get rid of my 3%. So I end up with a home equity loan, but the home equity loan is going to be 8, 9, 10%. So really quick, they start calculating, we call it a blended rate. When they calculate a blended rate, they see, well, my overall interest, I might have 500 grand at 3%, but I have another 500 grand at 10%. So my overall rate is actually a lot higher. It's not 3%, right? My overall rate's like 6.5. Now that the rates are under 6, that blended rate isn't attractive anymore. When the rates were over 7, then I wanted the HELOC because that blended rate was more attractive. But now I can get into a different position. So I have people I have a guy doing a cash out loan right now in that scenario, and he's doing it and he's taking a 6.2% on a cash out loan because he wants to get the money that he wants in order to do what he needs to do, right? And his overall rate is better, even though he has over $500,000 at 2.99. So all those clients are in that same type of mind frame. And what we see on the mortgage side is as rates shift, it's really this type of calming where it's just steady is what generates more activity. So mortgage applications actually go up as stability in the interest rate holds. If interest rates suddenly jump and they suddenly go up, everything's kind of freezes. Everybody kind of takes a back step. Everybody's like, oh, I don't want to do anything quite yet. I'm kind of have to wait, yada, yada, yada. So that's kind of how it changes. So this type of stability that we're seeing is really a positive for what we're doing. If you look at the 10-year, if you go to the next slide. So this is what I was showing last week. I was showing you kind of that normal trend that we had, but this is what we've seen in the last week overall. So it's almost like a steeper move down. And like Mark was saying, yes, we hit the 4% range a couple trades ago, and today it's substantially under 4%. It's like 3.95, which means we can see that momentum in the right direction. So overall, when we're kind of trying to determine where we're going to go and how that market is behaving, we can look at a few different data points. If you go to the next slide, so this week is all about CPI. CPI is inflation data. This is what the Fed uses to determine what's happening with inflation and what type of cuts they're going to do. Right now, there's at least one more cut that they're talking about before the end of the year. But some of the Fed presidents are talking about 2, some of them are talking about 3. So the market doesn't really know if we're going to get more than one cut by the end of the year. That move will actually generate a lot more momentum for us if they do cut more aggressively. One of the things they're going to look at is inflation. So what these numbers are really kind of confusing, but what these numbers are really showing is this is where inflation is right now. Okay. This is where we're estimating inflation is going to be. So if what actually happens every time you get new inflation numbers, they replace the inflation numbers from 12 months ago. So this is the inflation numbers that we had in September of 2024. And because we're estimating that for September of 2025, the movement is basically null. Now, that's the estimate. We're actually expecting it to be a little bit better. We're expecting it to be a little bit better because these elements associated with shelter costs. This is owner equivalent rent. So owner equivalent rent means they call a bunch of people that own their house and they ask them, how much can you rent your house for? And by that, they determine like, what's the rentable market? and then they devise from that an inflation number. Okay, but that number is very high compared to what we're seeing. So if you go to the next slide, today we have the Zillow blended rent index. So we all hate Zillow. We all love Zillow. I don't know, what year is it? Right? So Zillow came into the market and we're all like, oh my gosh, they're taking our jobs. They took our job. No. So, but they do have the best data. At the end of the day, Zillow's got the most activity, the most data. You can really trust what they're saying. And Zillow doesn't just do sales, they also do rent. And the reason that this is important is because we're seeing a bunch of things that are happening associated with rent that will lower that number that has to do with shelter costs. So we're seeing reduction in deposits happening. We're seeing free months to tenants. You see that in the leasing buildings around the office here. Hey, first month free, come on and sign, right? We're seeing that type of activity. We're seeing incentives for occupancy, right? So if you look at where we're up overall, we're actually a little bit less than we were a month ago as far as our overall increase year over year. And that's a deflationary item. And that's a really big part of the inflation number that they look at is shelter costs. Shelter costs, everything has to do with like renting a place, okay? If those numbers are more in line with the data that comes out, then most likely the inflation numbers that come out on Friday will be more in our favor and might generate more momentum towards extra cuts, okay? So there's a lot of things that are moving in our direction. If you touch on rent in general, this is obviously national data. If you touch on rent in general in Utah, specifically like Salt Lake County, rents are high, right? Even when we're seeing them be stagnant or maybe an incentive here or there, a reduction in security deposit, rents are freaking high. Like, I don't know about you, but in my neighborhood, if you want a decent 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, you're doing over $3,000 in rent. It's pretty standard, $3,000 to $3,500 for a nice place. If it's not updated, you're probably anywhere between $2,500 to $3,000. I live up the street from here. I live right here in Mill Creek. So rents, that number is pretty high for what it was just a few years ago. We're getting closer as rates come down and your mortgage affordability is changing. We're getting closer to a market where people are thinking about buying again versus renting. If you've been doing this for a while, pre-COVID and all those periods where rates were really low into COVID, the calculation was very simple. I'd have a client come and get approved with me. I'd look at what they're paying in rent. I'd tell them, well, you can have this payment. And basically it was almost like sixes. You can have this payment on owning where you're paying that in rent anyway. Then we had a kind of a shift where everything has to do with your mortgage went really high and kind of a change in that environment. And people were less in tune to, well, I'm not going to buy, I'm just going to rent because that's cheaper for me. Now we're shifting again. So even though rents are kind of holding at their current levels, as rates come down and where their purchase mortgage payment's going to be, they're actually more inclined to consider buying. And in general, if you tell someone, hey, you might pay $200 extra, we'll have a conversation with them with their tax person. Hey, you might have some tax benefits associated with it. Not only that, when you're paying rent, you're paying 100% interest rate. That's the interest you're paying when you're doing rent. It's not just a little chunk. So if you're not looking at that difference, your overall component might not really work your direction. But I have clients right now that are in a $3,100 rental and they're buying a house and they're gonna have a payment of $3,050. And they're doing a 5% down loan. That's what they're doing. And it's about a $500,000 house. And they're buying in Midvale. So it's a good market for you to start thinking about those clients that are not really sure, maybe for their kids, maybe they want to buy an investment property. As you're shifting into that buyer mentality, it's really a good time to consider where they're at. You got a question? I mean, yes and no. So it's all about supply and demand. Landlords do adjust all the time. If you look right now, it's more of an adjustment period, especially in Utah. So we're so seasonal in Utah that, like Dave was saying, a lot of people have this mentality that you can't sell a house in December. That's false. There's a lot of activity that happens, but less people move in the wintertime, right? Most people, so when you're renting, most renters are making those decisions during the summertime. So if you're looking up at rentals right now, they're probably like, okay, well, I'll give you the first 2 weeks for free, right? Stuff like that, or a little less security deposit. right? They're making those type of small concessions, but the overall rent is holding. It's not like, it's kind of similar to days on market with purchasing. It's very similar. It's like, I'd rather, now, if I'm a landlord, I'd probably rather lower my price to get that extra month in for the year, because that balances out overall. And then when I renew your lease a year from now, I'll increase your rent and offset it, right? So it's kind of a little bit of a different game. You go to the next slide. So I wanted to share with you, this is kind of interesting. So this is, it's called the refinance index versus the 30-year rate, okay? So the orange line that you see, that's mortgage rates, roughly. That's the average mortgage rates for 30-year fixed. This is 1 year that we're seeing. And if you look at just what's happened in the last 45 days, there's a huge jump in how many people are refinancing. When people are refinancing, it's not just that they're getting a better payment on their house. They're putting more money in their pocket. And when we put more money in our pocket, we tend to spend it, right? Make more, spend more. That's kind of the gist of it. So in general, if I am lowering my mortgage payment by $300-400, I might think about going and buying a car, right? Because I'm like, oh, I save $300-400 a month. I can go afford another car payment, things like that. But at the same token, for you guys, you can use this when it comes to purchasing other property. With the AI for investors, all that concept of like, what can you add? Where can you find the opportunity? That's where your opportunity is right now. People that are more savvy and saying, this is a good time to buy. It actually really is a good time to buy because it's so balanced. Rates are on the move down. We expect you could refinance in the future. There's a lot of benefit to kind of move in that direction. We do one more slide.
Sorry, drink the water.
No, it's okay. Hurry. So this is the purchase index. Now, this is where we were a year ago. There's not as big of a move up, but you can kind of see the beginning of that traction up. If you would zoom out and look at like a 10-year, there's a direct correlation to the purchase index going up. That means how many people are buying versus what 30-year mortgage is doing, right? So there's a direct correlation. We're just at the catalyst for that to really kind of push on. So I agree with the things that we guys are talking about as far as first quarter of 2026. I agree with Dave that if you're sitting on your butt thinking right now that I can't sell a house, you're wrong. You're definitely wrong. There's a lot of really great opportunities out there. People just don't know. So if you're looking for any type of marketing material, how do I touch with my sphere of influence? What are the steps that I can take when I have to like talk about the financing side? You guys do such a great job giving all the real estate data. Talk to us about how to get the financing data, because there's a lot of really cool, exciting things that will generate momentum with the people around you. And if you have buyers that have been on the fence, go back for the last 2 years and look at all those buyers that were saying, well, I'm going to wait for rates to get lower, and tell them, hey, guess what? Rates are lower. It's not what it was. It's a really good time to look at it. Okay. So come talk to us. Tori's in the office. I'm here available as well. You can always call us and we'd love to help you.
All right. Thanks, Amir. Okay, Vince, come on up. Good, small but mighty today.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
We're here.
I just want to make sure the same works. I'm Vince with Black Diamond Renovation. Some of you may know me. We build bitchin' kitchens, badass bathrooms, outdoor living spaces to die for. We are one of your guys' preferred contractors. So what that means is you are aware of your preferred partners program here. If you're working, I'm working. And my marketing person back there, Stormy, I just brought her in today kind of to show her how this works. You talk about buying or selling houses, working with clients. How we benefit you is if you walk into a listing, you're like, this thing is a turd. We can come in and show you what it's going to cost to get it fixed up and get it ready for sale. Whether that's replacing flooring, carpeting, painting, windows, whatever that takes. If you have this house like in escrow, you get a home inspection, everyone's freaking out what it costs. Shoot that over to us. I can give you a proposal on what it would cost to fix a water heater or HVAC system or fix the roof or any of those things. We find a lot of times that helps save contracts, escrows.
Yeah.
I don't like this language. But
deals. We call them deals.
Deals, yeah. We want to help you save your deal if we can. A lot of times people think that things cost 10 times more than they do. And so you get it from a licensed contractor, we're licensed, bonded, and insured, and that could help your clients pull the jet guess a little bit. Conversely, if you have buyers that are going in houses, a lot of times they're like, well, what does it cost to take out this wall, to fix this, to fix that? Again, we can give you a proposal on those things. Our hope is that, A, we help you save business, we're building relationships with you guys, and that those clients will eventually say, hey, we want you to do the work. So we know that's just planting seeds, like you guys do prospecting and cold calling. This little pretty much warmer leads for us. So keep us in mind, Black Diamond Renovation. Again, my name's Vince. Stormy's in back. You'll see us around quite a bit now that things are kind of calming down a little bit in our world. So thank you for having us. Got some lunch for you, and we'll talk to you. We'll be around afterwards if you want to talk.
Okay. Thanks, Vince. Appreciate you bringing lunch. Okay, last up, we have wants and needs. Anybody have any listings, any buyers, any open houses, anything we need to chat about? Bennett.
Got a listing that should be going live in about a week. It's a 6-bed, 3-bath in West Valley. It has a new ADU that they recently built and added on, not your typical up-down situation or side-by-side. It's a full house and they added on a additional living
Nice.
to it.
What kind of price point are you thinking?
It's going to be in the low to mid 5s.
Oh, good deal. Okay. Anybody else?
I know Rick and Marita have one they sent me. She said that they have a new listing this week, 2-bedroom, 2 full baths, 1-car garage built in 2001. Goes live this week at 340, FHA approved, and unit townhouse in West Valley. And then she's also looking for somebody to hold an open house on Saturday or Sunday.
Okay, so it looks like, yeah, reach out to Rick and Marita. Okay, perfect. If that's it, guys, appreciate you coming. Thanks for showing up. Have a good day. 5 minutes early.